Welcome back to the channel. I'm Colin, and this is a review of a set of new Ziigaat IEMs, the Ziigaat Horizon. They retail for $329, and I believe this is Ziigaat's first ever tribrid IEM. The Horizon utilizes a total of 5 drivers on each side. One 10mm biodynamic driver for the bass, 2 Knolls BA drivers for the mid-range and treble, and 2 composite planar drivers for the frequencies upwards of 20 kHz. Now let's talk about the unboxing experience and I'll tell you how it sounds. Since the Ziigaat Crescent, Ziigaat has upgraded their accessories, and more importantly the cable. And of course, the Horizon being a later released IEM will also have those upgrades. The Horizon comes in a box similar to other Ziigaats. Inside, we have the IEMs, a large PU leather zippered pouch with the cable stored inside. The new modular cables from Ziigaat has a balanced and single-ended plug included. For the ear tips, we now have 2 sets of silicone ear tips, one in gray and the other set in clear color. Both feels very grippy and soft. There's also a pair of foam tips. As mentioned in the previous Ziigaat video, these do feel like silicone ear tips and are of very high quality. So this is the same silver-plated copper cable as the Crescent, featuring a modular balanced and single-ended plug. Functional and looks pretty nice. So here's everything that you'll get with the Horizon. Now onto the build of the Horizon. It pretty much looks exactly the same as other Ziigaats I reviewed. They all have a 3D printed black resin shell and a hand-poured acrylic faceplate. The faceplate has a 3-color design. We have black with glitter on the top, then white, and then some sky blue on the bottom. The Horizon has a vent on the top, and there isn't any driver flex when wearing these. Isolation is excellent on them. Okay, here's how the Horizon measures on my Clone 711 coupler with stock black tips. As you can see in the graph, the Horizon has a relatively flat frequency response curve. The bass shelf of the Horizon slopes down quite early. There's less sub-bass compared to the Harman curve, and there's almost no mid-bass boost. It's almost completely flat when it reaches the mid-bass region. Instead of a scooped mid-range, the Horizon has a very slightly boosted lower mid-range area. The upper mid-range rises around the 1K area, and the treble region after that there are a few peaks. You can see that the Horizon doesn't really roll off all the way to the 20 kHz region. Let's talk about the sound quality first. My first impressions of the Horizon is that it's on the brighter side of things, and it reminded me quite closely of the Ziigaat Arcanist that I reviewed previously. I think the tonality of the Horizon is relatively neutral and flat, with a slight treble boost. There is a lot of treble detail and spatial sounds that you can hear from the Horizon. Maybe it's due to the fact that it has a pair of planar drivers dedicated to the ultrasonic treble region. That's beyond human hearing. The air region, 10 kHz and above, stays relatively flat, and doesn't roll off as much as other IEMs. What this does to the sound to me is it really enhances and emphasizes the edges of the sound. By that I mean the attack and decay becomes more clear, and it sounds as you can distinguish where a note starts and ends better. But the side effect is that some sounds from vocals, like the air sounds and sibilance that's coming from the vocalist's teeth and lips, can sound a little edgy in certain tracks, probably around the 4 kHz region. The midst of the Horizon is quite sterile and neutral. Some will consider it to be dry sounding. Both male and female vocals sound very neutral, and minute details in the vocals come out really well with the Horizon. And since the vocals and the mid-range is so clean, the backing vocals in songs felt more apparent with the Horizon. The overall mid-range sound is very precise and revealing. It doesn't have the smoothness and body from other warmer IEMs, but it's a magnifying glass that lets you hear a lot of details in a recording, maybe even some flaws. The bass on the Horizon is lighter than what I prefer for my own tastes. I like a bit of a mid-bass boost around the 150 Hz region, but as we see in the Horizon, The bass shelf of the Horizon slopes down really early, so basically there is no boost in the mid bass. I would like a little more impact in the kick drum area, but in exchange, we now have a very snappy and quick mid bass that's on the lighter side. Due to the lack of mid bass boost, the mid-range is able to maintain a very good separation between the mid bass. The overall clarity in the mid bass is very high with good texture presentation, just lacking a bit of punch for me. The sub bass though is definitely there, and it will rumble in songs that have sub bass. And again, I think the sub bass maintains good separation and clarity between the rest of the frequency range. Not the most sub bass in the Ziigaat lineup, but doesn't feel light either. If you're a bass head though, the Horizon probably won't be for you. Just get the Ziigaat Crescent instead. I have a review on that. The soundstage of the Horizon is probably the biggest strength compared to similarly priced IEMs. The depth of the Horizon is really deep, and it's apparent when you listen to live concerts or recordings. You can really hear the depth of the stage. It's not common for IEMs to have a large and wide soundstage and pinpoint imaging at the same time. The imaging of the Horizon is truly holographic. Put on Pink Floyd's On the Run and you'll hear the effects run around your head, and not just left and right in your head. There's awesome depth in the soundstage, probably even the best in class, at least considering the IEMs that I reviewed. The sound actually expands outside of your head. Many IEMs around this price cannot achieve the same. That said, I'm confident this will be awesome for competitive gaming and movies too. When I first listened to the Horizon, it immediately reminded me of the Arcanus in terms of its tonality, and comparing them both, they indeed sound very similar in the tonality. There's a bit more fluidity in the mid-range in the Arcanus, but the Horizon has more texture in the upper mid-range. The most significant difference between the two is the soundstage size. The Horizon is deeper and wider by a margin. It's especially noticeable in classical and jazz music. When playing audiophile vocal tracks like something from Norah Jones, the Arcanus sounds very intimate, like she's whispering in your ears. Sounds very forward and direct. While on the Horizon, it sounds like she's 8 feet away in the room. Her voice has more directivity, but it's also more pushed back. So which presentation you like will likely depend on the genre and your preference. Then I compared the Horizon to the Kiwi Ear Septet, which also has a planar driver, but in addition, the Septet also has a PZT driver for the upper registry. Comparing the two, it's obvious that the Septet has a warmer and richer tonality. There's a fuller body in the mid-range, and though the bass is not as snappy, there's more impact in the bass. The width, depth, and openness of the soundstage is better on the Horizon, but not by much. The Horizon has more clarity and better detail retrieval overall, but is more apparent in the upper mid-range, in the lip sounds and cymbals, etc. Overall, the Septet is a more fun-sounding IEM, and the Horizon is more clinical. Both of them have a relatively large soundstage, but the Horizon is just a little more open. One thing to be aware of is that the Septet is much harder to drive among the two. Now let's talk about the cons of the Horizon. The Horizon is a very well-rounded set. If I had to talk about a con, I think the sound is slightly fatiguing, and personally I would like a little more mid-bass, especially when used on the go. That said, you can EQ in a couple decibels of mid-bass around the 150Hz region and lower the 4K peak by a bit if you find it fatiguing. Or you can use it with a warmer source, like the KA17 and the iBasso Nunchaku in tube mode. I find that the Horizon pairs very well with the Nunchaku. It adds a bit of warmth and fluidity to the mid-range and trims the peaks off the treble. In summary, it seems like Ziigaat just keeps on improving upon their new releases. The Horizon is a super technical and detailed IEM with a super wide and deep soundstage. It's perfect for those that love to listen for the smallest details in recordings, and it shines when playing tracks that have good soundstage presentation. It pretty much beats its older and more expensive bigger brother, the Arcanus, in every aspect. If you were considering the Arcanus, I would definitely urge you to get the Horizon instead. Better cable, better stage, and better detail retrieval. And if you want a more bassy and musical set, just go for the Crescent. The Ziigaat lineup is becoming more and more complete and mature. The Horizon has the largest soundstage I heard in IEMs in this price range, even slightly better than the Septet. So if you're looking for an IEM with an incredible stage and very good detail retrieval, and don't mind a drier and more clinical sound, I would recommend you to get the Horizon. These are a set of IEMs that can sound like the music is out of your head and not just firing in your ears. So this is the end of the review. Please let me know if you have any questions about the Horizon. If you enjoyed this review, please like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Thank you for watching.